Have you ever wondered why a man seems to relax when he takes the lead, and a woman seems to only truly soften when she gets to let go? Well, that is not random. It is actually the natural dance of polarity. And today, we are going to dive deeper into that natural dance and how the nervous system of the feminine and the masculine function differently and complete each other. Hello and welcome. My name is Yasmin Soraya. Welcome to my channel, and this series is called The Path of the Feminine, where we talk all about feminine embodiment, empowerment, and spirituality. Today's topic will be the difference between the masculine and feminine nervous system and why the feminine needs to let go to relax while the masculine needs to be in control, needs to take the lead. Well, first to begin, I want to clarify that this is not to say that as a woman, all you can do is just surrender and let go all the time. And as a man, you can only take the lead and you always have to be in control. It is not about making you just one thing or the other. We all have both energies. We are all made of yin and yang. We are all made of masculine and feminine. And depending on the situation, we can lead with different energies. So even as a woman, we are perfectly fine when sometimes we take the lead, we take control. And as a man, it is perfectly fine to just sometimes let go and surrender. This is not to say this needs to be your default state. This is to say that when we're a masculine or feminine dominant being, our nervous system is wired differently. So as women, for example, our nervous system is wired to find relaxation through surrender, through letting go. So when we take on a masculine role or we take on a masculine state where we lead, where we are in control, because this is what the situation requires from us right now in this very moment, it is not relaxing for us. It demands a lot of energy from us because it is not our natural default state, because we are feminine energy dominant beings. While men, they are masculine dominant energy beings, so they are comfortable in taking control. For them, they relax. A man relaxes when he gets to be in control, when he gets to lead. And it's a bit more challenging for him to just let go and surrender. So what we want to look at is just how this awareness on how we're wired and how our nervous system and our energy works affects how we should perceive and lead ourselves in life, and how we should choose to take action or don't take action in relation to our health, our well-being, and our overall inner balance. So when we know as feminine dominant beings, we relax through letting go and surrender, it is important, especially in a masculine dominant world, because this world that we're living in, this society, is masculine energy and masculine behavior dominant. So we are required to be in a masculine dominant state a lot as women. So it is so important to be aware that for our nervous system, that means activation. I am not using the word stress because it doesn't have to be stress. It's just activation. It has to work. And that drains our energy. So it is so important for us as women to incorporate that in our awareness and say, okay, because I have a job where I have a lot of responsibility, I maybe have kids, I have a household to lead, whatever it is, where you have to be in your dominant energy, where you have to, in your masculine dominant energy, where you have to lead yourself and others, and where you need to be in control, you need to balance that out with spaces, times, situations where you can just let go and surrender into flow. And you don't need to take care of anything. And you can just let yourself go, because this is where we recharge as women. And this is what I really want to enhance, because that's why so many women nowadays burn out. You know, all the boss babes, all the women who made it big in career, and then one day they just burn out. Why? Not because they're not capable of what they're doing. No, they're perfectly capable. They've shown that. It's because there's no balance. They're constantly in masculine energy dominant states And that drains their energy because they can't recharge. They need to be in a feminine dominant energy state to recharge. They need to be in situations and in spaces where they can let go, where they can surrender and just be with the flow so they can recharge. And if that doesn't happen, we burn out as women. And for men, it's the other way around. When they take the lead, they actually get filled with energy. It's their natural state to be in because it's the masculine energy state to be leading, to be structuring, to be giving form, to be dominant control, to take control. And this is not to say toxic control. Please do not refer that to manipulation or toxic control or rigidity or any of that, because this is not what this is about. This is about understanding that the masculine energy nature is to give structure, to lead, to bring focus, to bring direction. While the feminine is the flow of life force that just flows through you and that just gives the overall direction. The masculine is there to build the structure. You can imagine it like a river. That's the best example I can give. The feminine is the water that flows. The water flows somewhere, and the river always flows to the ocean. So the life force, the river, the water, it flows towards the ocean. But it can't just flow all over the place. Otherwise, it would go down into the earth and disappear, and it wouldn't end up at the ocean where it needs to go. That's why we have a riverbed. And that riverbed is the symbol for the masculine, a structure, a direction-giving form, a focus-giving, a form-giving structure, a containment, a presence that helps lead the way towards the end goal, towards the desired place that we're going to. And within ourselves, that's the same thing. So we both have both. We both have masculine and feminine, and they both need to work together like that. While the masculine gives structure, form, containment, presence, direction, the masculine gives presence, clarity, containment, direction, form, and structure. The feminine is the flow of life, is the letting go, the just following the path, the just flowing towards the ocean where you want to end up at. And so, with that being said, when you imagine that, you have both within you. There's a river flowing within you. You don't want to just be completely always in the structure and in the form and in the masculine direction giving, because that doesn't serve when there's no water in your river. When your river is empty because you never refill on water, where should it flow to? You can give it as much form as you want. There's nothing to flow towards your ocean. You'll never end up at the ocean. So we need to create a balance, especially as women, as feminine dominant beings. We need to always refill on feminine energy to make sure our river always carries water so that it actually takes us to that ocean. And the ocean, you could see, is the place of perfect balance and bliss, where we want to end up as souls. And we need to recharge on that water, and for that we need to go into feminine states. We need to go into spaces, into practices, into create time so we can just be in the flow, where we can surrender and let go and be held by something or someone, and we do not need to lead ourselves or to control or to give structure or form. We can just be and surrender and flow and refill on our water so that river actually is full of water, and that direction giving wonderful masculine energy can actually lead us somewhere. And the same is true in relationships. Often I see that relationships dynamics collapse because there is an imbalance in those energies, because women have learned over the past millennia that being in the masculine energy is safe for them, because we're living in a world and a society that is very masculine dominant, and there has been a lot of toxicity on both sides, masculine and feminine. And when we are in the toxic state of masculine and feminine, the masculine becomes the villain and the feminine becomes the victim. That's our natural toxicity state. When we as feminine beings become toxic in our behavior, we see ourselves as victims, we behave like victims, and the masculine sees themselves either as the hero or the villain and behaves accordingly. And the most toxic state we see is the villain. And so as feminine beings, we related to the idea that we can only get out of that dynamic, out of that being endangered by the villain, if we are in control, if we take the power over, if we lead like masculine beings, if we are in control ourselves. So that is actually engraved in our DNA from the last millennia. And this is something we have to really work on and release and heal to come back to our natural state, because it's really deeply in our bones. Because the last millennia, that was the way women survived. They manipulated, they controlled, often in the background, often through intrigues and things, but they stayed in control because that's the way that they survived this toxic world that we lived in. And so what I often see now in relationship dynamics is that there's a perfect, beautiful polarity and attraction in the beginning, but then as the relationship goes on, the women try to control. And this is also something I experienced myself, because it's the natural survival mechanism, right? It's the unconscious pattern to protect ourselves. So we try to control everything and we try to take the lead everywhere. And we're doing that more and more and more. And what we start doing then as women or as feminine beings is often that we start belittling our partner. So we so much try to take over the control to make ourselves feel safe. And all of that happens unconscious. There's no judgment there, because we all have that stuff in our system. And no one's better than the other. We're just trying to create awareness. It's okay if that happens. This is a process of healing. But we are starting to treat our partner like our child, because we always want to be in control to make sure we're safe. This is our unconscious automatism. And then our partner feels emasculized and doesn't feel like a man anymore because he can never take the lead. And when he tries to, we as women right away pull it back to ourselves and no, and can't let him lead, or shame his leadership by claiming it's not good enough and it's not right and he can't do it right. That's also something we often see in women. No one can do it right except us. All of these things also happen in men, but since we're talking about feminine embodiment, empowerment, and spirituality and leadership here, I'm going to talk to you about the feminine side of things. And when that happens, the polarity collapses. Because a man that feels treated like a child won't feel attracted to his woman anymore. And a woman that feels like she has a child instead of a man because of her unconscious patterns too. But also the experience of the woman then becomes like, I have a child, not a man. Because then men start to behave according to what we expect them to. This is a whole dynamic, You treat someone like a child, they'll start behaving like a child eventually. And we as women don't feel attracted to a man anymore. And then the polarity flattens and the attraction flattens, and relationships actually either they dissolve, like people break up because they can't make it work. There's just nothing there anymore. Or, other things happen like cheating and just living beside each other. And actually we're not having the kind of relationship we desire. There's not that connection. There's not that polarity. There's not that whole, even if there's still love, because there can still be love. Love is not dependent on the attraction we have to each other. But when we are in a relationship with a partner, we want to have both. We want to have the love and we want to have the attraction, because that's what makes it this kind of relationship. Because I can love a friend too, but that doesn't mean the same thing as being in a relationship with a partner. So we want to have that. We want to have this attraction, this polarity in our relationship with a partner. And for that to stay, we need to work on those topics. Men need to learn to take the lead in a healthy way, in a non-controlling, non-toxic way, but in a present way, giving direction and focus on containment instead of demanding control or dominating in a toxic way. And we as women need to learn to let go and to flow and to surrender and to just relax and just give up control a bit. And of course, this can shift also in a relationship, that sometimes one takes control, sometimes the other takes control. But since the natural state is masculine is more in a control state, and the feminine is more in a surrender state, we want to make sure that there's a good balance, and we are more in that state, in that natural state where the feminine surrenders and the masculine leads, than we are in the switched state, because that supports our polarity and our healthy well-being in the relationship. So with all of that being said, this is a completely natural process. Honestly, it took me years to learn to not do this whole controlling thing. Oh my God, guys, honestly, I was the worst. I was so controlling. I have no idea how my men put up with me, because I was so controlling. I had to literally control everything. I was a case. It took me years to work through that. So there's no judgment here. It's perfectly okay if you're realizing, oh my God, I am a total control freak still. Well, I was a total control freak and I made it out. We all do. It's just about awareness. It's not your fault. It was a survival mechanism we developed. And it's good that it was there because it helped us survive. But now we're ready to move beyond that. But it's possible, and it's possible to find that polarity again, and it's possible to find that natural flow with each other, that natural dynamic again. And when we do, I notice that as a feminine dominant being, when I get to be in surrender, in letting go, and when you start doing that with your partner, you learn doing that with your partner, you also do that a lot more in life. You start feeling what is a healthy masculine dominant energy that you can lean into and what isn't. And then you'll learn to discern when you should be in control and when you should just lean in and let go. So I noticed that showing up with my partner at the beginning, that I was able to lean in and let go and trust and surrender. And that already recharged me a lot, because we spend a lot of time with our partners, honestly. So I felt less burned out by that. And the more I learned to do it with him, the more I learned to do it with other men in my life and other situations in my life, because masculine energy isn't necessarily men. It can also be structures in our life. And the more I did that, the more I noticed that I started being recharged a lot more again. I started being fuller again with energy. I started having less of that burned out, drained kind of feeling, because I was able to actually refill my water supplies, refill my river with water, refill on feminine energy, and allow my nervous system to relax, because at the end, that's what it gets back to. Like, we refill when our nervous system relaxes. And a feminine nervous system is programmed to relax when we can let go and surrender and just lean in. And so that's where we recharge. So that's what we need. And the men, they relax when they can actually take the lead and be in control. That's where they chill out and relax and recharge. So this is actually a perfect kind of combination that we can recharge in together in a relationship, in a partnership, that each one goes in their natural state. And you can also practice that together with your partner and refills with energy through that. So yeah, I hope that supports you on your journey. That is all I wanted to share with you today. Let me know how you experience this, and if you're practicing or trying it out, let me know how it goes in the comments below. And of course, let me know about your thoughts on the topic and everything. I love to hear from you and to read your comments, and I answer every single comment. And thank you for being here today. I hope this episode served you. Don't forget to subscribe, because there's a new episode of The Path of the Feminine every week, where we're talking more about topics related to feminine empowerment, feminine embodiment, spirituality, and leadership. And I can't wait to see you in my next video. Take care. Bye.